go. What is going on, everybody? This is the Cloud9 podcast, season 6, episode 18. This is going to be our LEC 2023 winter split power rankings. Now, we are not going to explain you guys the bracket for the new LEC format. Go watch the explainer video. That's pretty much what is the best thing you can do, because the only thing I can really tell you about the format is basically, this puts a bigger priority on top 4 moving forward, which is also really good. So basically, you go from BO1s to BO3s, then to BO5s, actually. There's no more double round robins for BO1s. It's going to be a single round robin for BO1s into BO3s. And how long have we been asking for BO3s? Forever? Like, it feels like forever we haven't gotten BO3s. Ever since I think Warren started watching League back in like 2017, which is the last year they stopped doing BO3s because viewership, which is a bullshit argument anyway. Yeah. We've been asking for BO3s. Like, we've mentioned this time and time again, people. If you make good, if the teams in the league play well, the viewership won't matter because people will want to watch the best teams play. That's just how it works. So we've been actually advocating for BO3s for a while. I'm super glad the LEC is going to do that. Now, like I did for our LCS 2023 spring split power rankings, I'll be doing my power rankings in front of you guys and then giving you my, breakdown of where I think certain teams are going to end up finishing. But before we do any of that, there are some few announcements I need to make for you guys. I know I've went over this stuff before, but I want to make sure I do it again because there's going to be some people out there who, just aren't going to be able to, probably watch the beginning of the show, and they might actually skip forward to when we're talking about the teams themselves. That being, competitive predictions is going to be like the series that Monty and Thorin do, where they predict the matches coming up for the LEC and the LCS. Warren is not really going to be watching the LCS as much, and obviously Chaz, I have him for that series. So for competitive predictions for the LEC, I'll have Warren, and we'll probably do it on like Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday. We have to settle on a day or something like that because, as you guys know, the LEC now is going to be beginning on Saturday. So we could have the episode out as late as probably Thursday. Thursday is probably when I want it to be out at the latest. But if we do it between Tuesday through Thursday, I'm fine. And it's not really just about predicting the games itself. It's going over the matchups and how certain teams like stack up against each other and that nature. And then you also have the competitive prediction series with Chaz, which is covering the LCS. So the reason why this week coming up, you are going to have the LEC first episode. Yeah. So not today, but around between Wednesday through Thursday, we'll get our first episode done, and I'll show you guys the format of that. And then after this week, we will be just starting with the LCS first, because the LCS new broadcast days is actually going to be on Thursday and Friday. So the LCS competitive prediction series is going to have to be first over the LEC. So it will be LCS first and then LEC. And then if there are key, matchups in the LPL, we can cover that in the LCS and LEC episodes, and also with the LCK as well. So that is going to be your pre-recorded content for the year. And then also if there's any big, breaking news that ends up happening, during the year, like I always cover, maybe a random player change mid-split, or, other big news regarding LEC, LPL, LCK, LCS, then I will definitely cover that. But that is going to be pretty much it. I'm glad that LEC actually managed to change the format, because just going from freaking BO1s consistently, like BO1s are never really the best indicator of who the best team actually is. That's just how I always personally see it. Last split, holy God, last year for the LEC was, I would say a shit show.
No, it wasn't. It's more competitive than LCS.
Great. Warren. I'm glad your standards are really, really there. I'm glad. So, what kind of
Well,
girls you date out there in New York? What the fuck?
well, I rather watch a poop show than watch a failing
You
viewer.
watch horse porn. What kind of standards do you have?
Okay, who has the lower viewers?
Okay, they said they're gonna fix it.
Oh yeah, shut the hell up.
Just like they said, my dad was gonna be in my life too. So we'll have to see how that goes. So yeah, the LEC last year, I think there was some strong teams. The problem here is like a lot of the rosters were like, specifically mid jungle, were all like pretty new to each other too, and that comes with its own set of issues as well. The biggest off-season move that I saw personally in the off-season, you could probably tell this was going to happen, with Fnatic, because Fnatic had a lot of issues, and we saw it in their gameplay. They weren't playing good at all, actually, is that they actually chose to bring back Reckless again. Now, if you guys don't actually know this, Reckless first started playing in the LEC or the EULCS a long time ago, back in 2013. He would help Copenhagen Wolves in some games. He was on Fnatic, couldn't play for Fnatic initially because he was too young. Eventually got a bit older to play on Fnatic, played on Fnatic, left Fnatic for Alliance. That failed, went back to Fnatic, played for Fnatic for a while, then left Fnatic for G2, who was consistently winning the LEC. And then after that, he literally went to, G2, like I just mentioned. Then after that, he obviously failed at G2, went to Carmine Corp. Fnatic ends up getting upset. And
they
then
did win the EU Masters with Carmine, though. I'm not saying that's much, but I mean...
No, I'm not laughing at that. It's just the aspect that Fnatic keeps taking this guy back. After he clearly shows them when he sees a better opportunity, he's leaving them. Well,
Well, it's more than that. I think there was a conflict of interest because Fnatic didn't do well in spring, right? And they had that lucky resurgence because, let's be honest, even though Reckless is an accomplished ADC, I'm not gonna elaborate on this too much. I think they basically realized that Humanoid is their franchise player, play through him.
Yeah.
And that Reckless is guaranteed. Upset wanted to play through bot lane, and that was the rumor why they left.
And I think that's another thing that we'll talk about later when we get to Fnatic. That's gonna be a whole bunch of fucking things to untangle, guys. There's gonna be a good amount to untangle with a lot of these teams. That's why I say I want to take too long with this. But that was one of the biggest off-season moves to a lot of people when it comes to Fnatic and Reckless. And I don't really think they'll be performing that well with him, honestly. I think Upset was such a valuable player for them. Coming in, people already doubted him, and then he proved why he was so good. And then they're like, you know what? We'll just get rid of this guy. But I understand there's more to it than that. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to bring up my notepad. Warren, I'm pretty sure, has his own list because I told him to make sure he has his own list. I'm going to make my list, obviously, with you guys. Obviously, ordering teams 10 through, 1.
Remember, this is easy for me, so don't worry.
Format. Remember, guys, the format has changed. So basically, after the first single round robin, if you do not make top 8, you are out. So this easily takes away dog shit teams like, BDS and bottom feeders like Astralis and SK usually are in that mix. So if you want to make top 8, you're going to have to win more games this time around. So we have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so we're going to go through this. I'm going to make this a tiny bit bigger for you guys, and we're going to be going through that. All right, so, man, I don't think I've actually talked to you about a lot of the off-season stuff, actually. What did you think about most of the off-season stuff going on for the LEC?
I thought there were... I have a lot of questions. There's a lot of question marks.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of new talent that I saw come in, which was good. but I think some players should have like retired personally. But that's just my opinion. You're muted, by the way.
Every year, this man calls it. Every year, Nico will
Well,
never retire.
okay. Let me put one in perspective, right? Otawamne, right? He wins LEC. Happy for the guy. Not saying he's a bad player, but we saw that he just couldn't hold. He couldn't hold up to any of the Eastern top laners. Like,
No, I agree. Yeah.
if he didn't have Maokai, they weren't winning a game. Like, and like, I think, like I said, I think that XL will talk about them, but like Hillisang, I think he should. I think
Hillisang's on Mad Lions.
Yeah, I think bringing some new. Hillisang's been around for a long. It's just sometimes it's okay to leave it, and we've seen it in LCS with double wheelchair and Bergerson. So I mean, so. I mean, that's just my opinion, but we'll once we go down the list, I'll give.
All right, you want to go first or me?
Yeah, I have team. I have actually Team BDS.
Oh, thank God, I had them too. I was like, this team sucks. All right, so let's go over that. No, I was like, this team is. I knew they were 10th. All right, so for anyone who hasn't been following the offseason, we'll go over the rosters and we'll go over why we put the teams in a certain place. Team BS's roster is Adam. That same Adam who had that 0-4 Aurelia game where he got completely destroyed. He got absolutely ass-railed. He was on Fnatic, as you guys remember. He performed okay. People overhyped him, you know? And then he got sent. He was playing on BDS, got sent down to the ERLs. They're like, you know what? Let's just bring you back. Xiao, I don't remember seeing this. I remember I saw him in the ERLs too. I remember I saw their jungler. I was like, I've seen a few games from him. I'm not that impressed. You have Crowny, Lebrov. I mean, like, okay.
I mean, they
Lebrov
could be
bad.
Dark. I think there could be like a squeeze in for the last spot because Crown Shot did make. Remember with the team with Leader and
right.
Legenda and Self-Made, they made playoffs and they took Fnatic to
yeah.
So maybe it might work off, but just off of past experience, I'm just playing it safe. And maybe Adam has learned his non-inting ways. So
has he learned not to run it down?
The only thing I'm not sure is Syncroft still on the team or
no.
Okay, so they did he go to a different team? That's what I don't know.
The thing here is like I'm not too sure if they don't have Grabs on the team anymore. I think Grabs tried to give them the best drafts, but people need to understand the thing about draft is it doesn't matter how good you drafted. The players can't play out the draft. It really doesn't matter. He gave them drafts where like, yeah, they're going to get early game advantages too, but none of the players were good enough to ever play out any of those drafts. They would get even early game advantages too. And I know people are going to be like, but then they beat Fnatic and almost beat G2. Guys, let's be completely 100% honest here. G2 were running it that game, and so was Fnatic. And the thing here, when you were watching some of these BDS games, you never got the sense that they were ever going to win the game. That they were actually only ahead based off the early game champions that Grabs would give them. Like, Crowny never has been like he's been an all right ADC. Lebrov was one of the worst supports in the league last year. Like, I think he had one decent standout game with Vitality when they were facing Excel in spring. That one Nautilus game he had. He was awful.
I don't know. I think he was just... I think he just was put too much pressure on that team. That could also play, when you have such high expectations. I'm not saying that's it's because remember, like I said, with the leader Self-Made Agenda team, he did fine. He was considered a top 5 support. So maybe that expectation. Also, maybe Carzzy just wasn't a good fit for him. So yeah, I don't know, but I just, like I said, I have them 10th.
Also factoring in, if you have a new mid jungle synergy with new players, rookies just coming in, it's like, come on, like how's that going to compete with a lot of these teams? Yeah, so that's why I have BDS last. Also, you got to factor in the investment, the money that they could throw at some players to get the best roster. They don't even do that. Like, not even just having the best roster, because we know that doesn't always work, but they could, if they have enough money, as a lot of people said, they can get better than this. Like, they could get way better. Come on, like, Yankos, Niski, some people. You're telling me this is all you can afford as an org that wants to compete and win titles?
Maybe they have. Again, we don't. There's a lot behind because you could say the same thing for Vitality, right? That money had a way more expensive roster than BDS, and they didn't even. And if we want to even go to LCS, Team Liquid was an expensive roster. They didn't make
expensive is an understatement. That was a billionaire roster. Holy crap!
So
all right,
yeah.
So let's go to BDS. For me, is 10th. This is just. Oh, to be fair, remember BDS isn't as that bad this time. You need to win a few games to get top 8. Can they do that? I don't know. I really don't know, honestly. This roster just looks so bad. All right, so let's go. What is your 9th pick, dude?
My 9th pick. It's hard, but I'm gonna say Astralis only because
that was mine too, actually.
Only because there's a lot of hype. I think they could be a good 6th, 5th place team if they, because I think Finn and Kabe and Dior, they all played good. They almost made playoffs with Vizichachi, and I think they correct that with Finn because I think Finn's a way better top lane. Vizichachi.
You don't like old man Vizichachi?
Yeah, another person that should have retired, but whatever.
Okay, that I do agree with you. That guy should have retired ages ago.
And 113 is like a hyped up player from the ER. So if he pops off, maybe. I think that's good. And then Zhang Hun and Kabe, really good synergy. So this team has potential to be a 5th place to 8th place team, but again, I'm going to play it safe, and I'll put them 9th.
All right, everyone who's watching, Astralis' roster is Finn, 113, Dejor, Kabe, and Janghoon. So I was really impressed with Janghoon last split. I thought he was the one piece that this team needed to get them over the finish line. I thought his pipe games were impressive. His bar games were impressive. This was an impressive player. They actually got a pretty good support. I mean, coming off of Promise Q, I mean, pretty much anything is better. But Janghoon, I thought played pretty well. I thought definitely deserved even like all-pro team nods for how well he was playing. And Astralis last split, there were moments where if they had won just a few more games, they actually could have made playoffs over Fnatic. It was a very real scenario. If they had won just a few more games against, if they hadn't lost a few of the key early games in the beginning part of the split, and they had won a few more games in the latter part of the split, they could have actually made playoffs. Kabe, I think, was fine with Janghoon. Not the best, not the worst, just about where I would have Crownie at, just an okay ADC, nothing special. Dejor had some pop-off games on Rise and Vex, but nothing really crazy. You know, is he going to be the guy to go, give me the carry mid laner, I'm going to carry the game? He tries. I can respect it, but there's just better players at doing it. 113 is apparently one of the worst junglers they could have ever brought in because he was on Carmine Corp. A lot of people think he's going to be one of the worst players in the league, actually. Keep in mind, as he is 18 years old, he can grow and get better. I've seen players start really, really bad and get extremely better, but there's also the latter half where a player starts, you know, just bad and just stays bad, you know? But taking that kind of a risk on a player who already was deemed the worst jungler in the academy system and thinking that is going to work in the LEC, I don't know. Like, we saw that happen with Kenvi on Immortals, and that did not look very good. So that's what I think about 133. Finn, I think, okay, Finn has some pop-off games. Like, he can pop off. But the problem here with Finn is he can only really pop off on, like, Kled and, like, Camille. Very few carry top laners, right? He's not, like, he's not dog shit. And Aatrox. Yeah, he has 3 good champions he plays very well. But if you don't play, if there's a meta where he can't play them, he just kind of falls apart. And we saw it on XL last split. He when he has bad weeks, it's really bad. Like, he's such a huge detriment to his team. So that's why I would have them at 9th. They have pieces, like Warren said, that can probably get you a 7th, 6th spot. But the problem here with bottom tier teams, guys, is that if they improve on their rosters, well, top tier teams do the same thing too, actually. So yeah, I have Astralis at 9th place too. All right, Warren, what's your 8th place team? I think Warren's dead. Hello? Mr. New York man?
Oh, I thought I said I'm gonna go with SK. I think their roster
Okay.
has a really and I think they will finally make they're the last place team, and I think that they have a chance to be really good with
Hmm.
Marcoon. Irrelevant showed that he was a really good rookie top player coming in for Hewitt, and they made playoffs with MSF.
Hmm.
Exekit is a really good. I've been watching his streams. He's a really good
I've
ADC.
seen it. Hmm.
Like almost, I think he's like top 20 on the ladder right now. I think their jungler, I believe, is Yike. I'm not Yike.
No. Yike is
Uh,
on G2.
Yike's on G2.
SK has Marcoon.
Oh yeah, Mark. I'm not sorry, Marcus. So I think. Oh, and I
Okay.
think it's DOS.
I remember who
The
that was. The support. Yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
guy.
I think he apparently has like a high potential ceiling. But it's like one of those dart ops where he's very very good, but apparently he's toxic or something. That's the rumor or whatever. So I don't know. Like again, SK. There were times last season where they could have made playoffs, but then they just had some bad games. Um, I like the organization, but I have to be realistic, and I have them eighth.
Yo, what's up, Oliver? How you doing, man? So SK Gaming, they're usually always like an 8th to 6th place org with their rosters. Usually, they're usually always in that area. Now, SK Gaming's roster, for everyone who's watching, is Irrelevant, Marcoon, Certus, Exekick, and DOS. Now, DOS played on Misfits back when Febivin was still in the league, and he was playing on Misfits for a bit, and they chose to get rid of the other guy and swap him with Kabe with the bot lane with a support swap because they thought the synergy was much better between DOS and Kabe over the other guy. I forgot the other guy's name, actually. Oh, God, I forgot his name. But I thought the other guy was way better, though. If anyone can remember the guy that DOS switched out, thank you for that. But I remember that they did this support swap, and a lot of people, like Warren said, deemed DOS toxic, and they thought that was a really bad move. But DOS, to me,
Denick?
it was Denick. Yeah, thank you. Oh my God, I just couldn't remember his fucking name. So they swapped out those two, and like, I have to agree with people. I think Denick was just better, honestly. Like, DOS came in and he played I mean, anyone can really play Nautilus well. I mean, he had a few good Nautilus games, but I didn't really see the big upgrade there like a lot of these guys were talking about. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see this big, like, carry support player the Misfits, coaching staff was, really hyping up. You know what I mean? I didn't see it. And now, maybe he's gotten a bit better since being in the ERLs. Maybe he has. I'm not saying he hasn't, but last time I saw him, he was okay. Exekick, I have been watching his streams a little bit. I think he might be one of the next top LEC ADCs. Might be overhyping him, but I think he'll actually do pretty well. Certus, like, unpopular opinion, I thought Certus actually played well last split. Given what the roster he had, I think Certus, I think he played well and had good carry performances for what his team was like, obviously. Now, the thing with players like that is he only performing well because he has a bad team around him, or is he good just on his own? That's always the big thing when it comes to like bottom tier teams like, Astralis and SK and Team BDS. It's like we have a player performing very well on these rosters. Is it because they're really good, or is the team just so bad that anything is going to look better, right? But I think Certus, a few of his games, I was like, okay, he had some nice pop-off games. He's all right, okay. Marcoon, he had an all right year on Excel. Nothing stand out, nothing crazy, but just an all right. He has this style where if there's a high ganking meta with junglers, he'll play very well. But if it reverts into a meta of like tank junglers, he kind of just falls apart a little bit. So Marcoon's a pretty coin flippy jungler. I'm not too sure if the synergy will be there with DOS actually. And the top lane Irrelevant. I thought Irrelevant, when he came in, a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to just tank Misfits. No, I thought Irrelevant actually looked pretty good given the circumstances around Misfits last split, right? Now, is Irrelevant going to be an upgrade over Gen X? I think so. I think Irrelevant will be an upgrade over Gen X. Is Marcoon going to be an upgrade over Gilius? definitely for sure. Certus is an all right mid laner, and so the real question right now is how's their bot lane going to perform? Because like I said before, guys, SK Gaming are usually 8th to 6th place, so they're usually pretty much in playoffs or like that last spot out of playoffs. So that's the problem, is that they made upgrades to the roster. I mean, I can't deny that they made upgrades to their roster, but I will still have them 8th. I think they just have to win a few more games. That's it. That's it. They just have to win a few more games. That's it. All right, Warren, who is your 7th place team actually? Because mine is probably going to be. I'll probably have this team.
Yep. Actually, this was harder than I think because I thought that some of the teams regressed. I'm actually putting G2 7th.
Jesus Christ! Holy shit! Oh, okay. I'll make sure I have your name here, so that way people don't get confused with that thing. Okay, there you go. All right. Why do you think G2's gonna be 7th? That's low.
If you've been noticing lately, they've been like over the years they've been kind of going down and down ever since like Perks, and they've kept swapping out players, and I think Ankles was a big key. And I think there might be early jungle synergies. So that's why I'm putting them 7th. They're going to have to figure themselves out, figure out their identity, because Yankos was like he wasn't a carry jungler. He wasn't a tank jungler. He was just like the puzzle piece to fit that team perfectly. And I think he's that kind of integral part. I was flipping between Heretics and that team, but with Targamas I believe Targamas left. Correct me if I'm wrong. Targamas left, and I don't even know who the 80 carry is for. I don't
G2?
even know. I don't know the bot lane for G2. I'm sorry.
Hansama and Mickey X.
Yeah, they've regressed. So I don't know. Even when he was on Rogue, Mickey X, not Mickey X. Hansama had some issues, and they're trying to recreate that like MSF team before because they played together, and it's one of those things where this isn't like 20. This is now 20. This isn't 20. I'm sorry. This isn't 2018. This is now 2023. Like this is years past. So whatever synergies then, it's not the same. So I don't think G2 is gonna do very well. I actually either had them or Koi, but because again, I think I think people have figured them out. But I know people might be like, "You're crazy." No, I really do have G2 low.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. Do you want to say anything else? That's probably gonna be one of the more controversial predictions I think you've ever had.
No. I mean, I
was just making sure you said everything you wanted to say.
And I want to put this in perspective. I think Caps has now become like Faker in the sense that he's not the guy that's making these crazy plays. He's now predictable in a sense, and people have figured out Caps. So, I mean, could you honestly have said that Caps was a top 5 mid laner last? Top 3? I don't think so. I don't think you could really say that personally, in my opinion.
Depends on which time. It just depends on which time of the year.
Maybe the spring split because they made MSI, but summer not so much.
I know what you're saying. Like people aren't gonna remember. Like in spring, he kind of ran it down for a bit, and then in playoffs, he became insane.
Right.
That run MSI. Yeah.
That's
even in summer, first few weeks, he did very well. Kind of ran it down, then played better. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Okay, I got you. I see what you mean.
Yeah, so, because, like, if you realize, Faker has to realize he's more of a cog, but he's still a good cog, right, on your team. So that's what I put in perspective. Broken Blade was the most consistent, but then even then when they did the funky drafts, if it didn't work out, it all went downhill. So it's one of those things where, are they going to play standard, or are they going to try new G2? You could do like creative G2 with a good lineup. I don't know if they could do that. So that's why I have them 7th. I think they're still gonna make it into the 8th, but I have them 7th.
All right, my team I'll be picking is Team Heretics. So as you guys know, Team Heretics are Evie, Yankos, Ruby, Jack Spectra, and Mursa. Okay, so Mursa, when he played Leona, it looked like he actually knew how to play the game. But other than that, when he wasn't playing Leona, or I think one other champion, I think he was probably one of the most dodgiest supports like ever. Like, it was crazy looking at this guy and going like, damn, it looks like he really knows what the hell he's doing on Leona and a few other champions. But I don't think he's actually that good at all. I think he's very bad to a certain extent. Jack Spectra, I've not really watched him play. I know he's been in the ERLs. I've seen one or two highlights. I mean, I'm not that convinced of him yet. Ruby's supposed to be a pretty hyped up mid laner coming in right now, but you got to factor in if you're a Korean mid laner, the thing here is like, how is he going to be communicating, with his team and, with mid jungle, communication that is, a very, very important thing, obviously moving forward now with League of Legends. And if Mursa also cannot really communicate with his mid laner very well, then I don't really see this team doing very well initially. I think this team is going to struggle a lot based off the players that you have, not because they're just all bad, but the added aspect that, Evie also can't talk to Jankos. Jankos also like to play through topside as well. I think this might be the org where, they're going to perform bad enough to the point where, like, it might make Jankos look bad. And I think Jankos has been a player who's been one of the best junglers from the West, obviously long tenured player with a lot of history behind him. And I think it's crazy that G2 actually got rid of him. Kind of like how I talked about, 100 Thieves getting rid of Someday. I think that's just a big mistake personally, Now, do I think Jankos can perform very well on Team Heretics? I mean, he had some bad games last year, a fair share of bad games, but he would never be like one of the worst players, obviously, in the LEC. But the thing here people need to understand when you're watching a lot of these games is when you're communicating with certain people and how they want to play the game, it's even harder to do that when you can't speak to the person, So my thing here is out of all the Misfits players to keep, I think Mursa should not have been at the top of that list, And Jankos is a player where, he's always going to be active on the map. He's always going to be trying something. He's always going to try and get the game to go in his way. That's my thing. Personally, is this might honestly be the worst team in the league. Maybe it has very high variance to be really good, but it also has a high level of this could easily be a worse team than even these guys to a certain extent. It feels like with some of these teams that you could also argue that they have worse players on paper, but if they synergize quicker, they'll have better results. But yeah, Team Heretics for me is probably one of the biggest wild cards outside of another team I'll talk about later on. Actually, Evie, I've seen him at Worlds ever since he started playing with Dead Nation Focus Me. Evie's a good player, don't get me wrong. I think he's actually going to be a pretty good LEC top laner because I think top laners in the LEC have been one of their weakest roles, actually. And I think Evie will do fine, but given how the roster was constructed, it looks like one of those ragtag rosters that, some of these new orgs come in, they throw a bunch of money around, they get their slot in the LEC and they spent so much money on their slot to the point where like the roster configuration was all out of whack, actually. All right. So Warren, who is your sixth place team? Mine is actually going to be Mad Lions. All right. I'll go next if Warren is busy. Okay.
No, mine's is Mad.
Yours is Mad. Okay.
Mine's is mine's is Heretics. That's it. It's not Mad Lions. Mine's is Heretics.
Okay. Why is yours Heretics for 6?
Well, I took. Well, let me look at their roster because that's why. So Mercer didn't play too bad. You have veteranship with Evie and so I think that's, and I've seen a couple of Evie's like he's really trying to work on his English and he's been playing like I see him communicating, so I think it might work out. And I don't think Jankos wants to go on a, so far with Jankos' track record outside of what was it, Rocket, he's always been on
Rocket, H2K.
Well, and H2K. I mean, yeah. Even every team except Rocket, he's been to Worlds. So I'm gonna put my money on the guy that's always team good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's why. Evie, he's practicing different champions. Don't know much about Jack Spectra. Mercer was all right. I think Neon was the Mercer. I think Neon should have been kept too, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But that's my.
And I do agree with you too. Like the player that is going to get this team across the finish line is Yanko. So I don't think if you didn't have this guy, like if they didn't have Yankos, I'd probably put them somewhere like in 8th too, honestly, because that just looks like shit roster configuration to me. All right, my 6th place team is Mad Lions. Actually, Mad Lions team is Chasey, Elyoya, Niski, Karzi, and Hillisang. So for anyone who doesn't know about this, because you weren't following the offseason, Mad Lions actually wanted to get rid of Elyoya and Niski. Niski was supposed to go to Team BDS. Deal fell through. There was this $1 million valuation put on Elyoya by these Mad Lion people. Like, I'm being honest with you guys, no disrespect to the players out there and how much money they make. No player from the West is worth $1 million. Nothing you say will convince me of that. These players are nothing like LPL junglers. Nothing like any of the LPL other positions or the LCK. No Western player on this planet is worth $1 million. That is overvaluing. If you were to say 500K, because Fnatic paid 500K for Wonder, I'd be like, okay, cool. There you go. That's fine. $1 million for Elyoya? No, you can keep him. But now, if you're Elyoya and you're going like, damn, my org tried to get rid of me, he's gone after the season. At the end of this year, he is gone. So I don't know how he's going to play this year, given the fact that he wants to already leave anyway. His contract is up. That's always a weird thing to talk about because he's not going to want to sack his season, but he's not going to be on this roster next year anyway. But I think Elyoya is good. I think Elyoya is a good player. I think he shined at Worlds, even when Mad Lions were definitely struggling. Niski, he popped off really hard at the beginning of the LEC 2022 summer split, but, struggled as the weeks went by. And then when it came to playoffs, he just honestly, outside of that Rogue series where they went to 5 games, he just completely fell off. Now, is there a world where Niski can bounce back and look as good as he did at the beginning of the LEC 2022 summer split? There is a world. I do think Niski is a good player, but he did have this massive drop-off, toward the end of 2022. Karzi, just like with Lebrov, was so fucking bad, man. Karzi and Lebrov bottling was the worst. And then Mad Lions had Unforgiven, and they were like, you know what? Let's just fuck that guy who's actually playing pretty well. Let's get Karzi, who was dog shit. Like, Karzi was horrible, and I don't know why would you ever get rid of Unforgiven, who was playing really well, even for a rookie. He was playing great. Even at spring, where they didn't even make playoffs, to go from that guy to Karzi is like, I don't get it sometimes with the LEC. It's such bad roster decisions. I think Karzi's still going to be one of the worst ADCs, honestly. He played really bad last year. There's no indicator that he's going to get past even the okay ceiling he already had before. Hillisang has this thing where, like, he'll run it down a split, play really well a split, run it down a split, play really well a split. There's going to be some years where Hillisang in the past was insanely very good. Now, the thing with Hillisang coming off the back of just last year and 2021 is he was very hot and cold. Hot and cold being that there's some splits where if he pops off, as well as people always say he is, then he looks like the MVP. He looks like he's one of the best players in the league, actually. I'm not doubting him as a player. I don't think that he can't be that player that people have made out to be. And I think he has been that player at various moments in time. But it's too inconsistent. And the thing here, you already pair that level of inconsistency with a team of already inconsistent players is already going to be a recipe for disaster. I think Hillisang is an upgrade, kinda over Kaiser, kinda, but the minimal upside you get between them is very minimal anyway. And who the fuck is Chasey? Wasn't he on like the ERL teams or whatever? I mean, anything is better than Arma. I'll give them that. I will give them that. Anything is better than Arma because Arma running it in a lot of them games. So I think for this offseason with Mad Lions and the team they have right now, this is probably going to be a 6th to like 4th best roster. I don't think they're going to be contending for a title with this roster unless a lot of the players on this roster start definitely overperforming. Like if Hillisang starts overperforming with Niski, I think if Niski and Hillisang have really good synergy, then it can work out for them. But Elyoya and Niski, I think, could be a really good mid-jungle duo. there's that potential there, and it was there, and we did see it, but it just looks like this team is going to have one of various things. It's going to be a team where you have high variance in the early game, because Mad Lions' thing was you have this high variance of early game playstyle where they're consistently trying to make moves around the map. But the reason why Rogue was a lot more better and effective at their early game was because Rogue took calculated risks in the early game that paid off. Mad was just doing early game plays just to do them, just to get an early game advantage, but never was able to capitalize better on those advantages. And I think, is this the better roster to do that? I don't know. It looks like it has the same amount of variance to them as well. So that's my opinion on Mad Lions. All right, Warren, what is your fifth place team?
Fifth place team. This was because this was a really hard one for me. I'm gonna put Koi fifth.
All right, for those who don't know, Koi is literally Rogue. They rebranded. The only thing different with their roster is they have Shigenda over Odawane, because that's it. That's all it is.
I think people have figured out Rogue now and I think they won't have that many wins like they did last split. I think Shigenda has a lot to prove because Odawane consistently brought them to Worlds with them after replacing Finn. He got a title, so I put them fifth. I don't know. Malrong also probably got figured out. I think a lot of teams, because a lot of was like, a lot of junglers were saying Malrong was getting away with stuff that he shouldn't have. And I think when you have a year to look over someone's jungle pathing or how they do things, it makes a difference. So that's my stuff. I think comp is still good. I think they kept keeping their bot lane was good. It's there, and I don't know, Larson is definitely getting up there now. He's gonna do good, but I have them fifth because I don't see them being one again. I don't know why. I just don't see them being one.
All right, my fifth place team is Team Vitality. So Team Vitality's team is Photon, Bo, Perks, Neon, and Kaiser. So a lot of people are going to be asking, what's Alfari? He's apparently taking the split off, and I think he mentioned, I could be wrong, just tell me if I'm wrong about this. He wants to try and come back for summer, but if the Team Vitality roster kind of implodes or isn't doing its well like they were last year, then, Team Vitality, they will make the change. But they brought in Photon from T1 Challengers. Now, T1 as T1 as an organization knows how to pick up talent. That is, you cannot take that away from them. They know how to pick up talent. I hope this guy is actually pretty good. Is he going to be an upgrade over Alfari? I think he will, given the fact that Alfari played extremely poor last year. Like, people kind of underrate how bad he performed. He was a walking detriment to Team Vitality. Like, he had maybe a few carry games. Like, the Alfari that you remember from years past was not the Alfari Team Vitality god. They got an Alfari, I don't know who the fuck that was. That was IREF or some shit. Like, he was extremely bad. He had, like, a few good Gangplank and Jack games.
Alfari,
he was running it. He was sprinting it the whole year. This guy was like, I finally want to play with Perks. Plays with Perks the first time in his career, just runs it the whole year. It's like, God, you actually suck. But I don't think he's bad, and I think it's not good to judge a player just based off 1 year, but I understand why Vitality got rid of him. He ran it the whole year. I remember Bo was the FPX jungler that everyone was like, damn, this guy is insane. He got in trouble for match fixing, and then the LPL banned him. And then, obviously, Team Vitality ended up getting him. Now, we knew that Bo was going to be on Team Vitality because they even basically said, we got Haru. They even literally admitted in their announcement last split when they got Haru that, yeah, Bo cannot play right now because he's not LEC eligible. But next split, when Bo's ready, we'll be fully able to take him on as a starter. So Haru knew he had one split to kind of prove himself where he was going to be out the door. And Haru didn't play very well either, but that was also given the fact that Vitality was just a shit show anyway, so it doesn't really matter or some shit. So Bo, the thing here is he is really good. I have watched this guy play. He's great, honestly. He's going to be a massive upgrade over Haru and Selfmade. But we'll have to see how that goes. We'll have to see how he translates to the stage. I think his style of jungling is going to be pretty much what Malrang's was. Maybe a bit better, maybe a bit worse, give or take the team that you're on. I think Bo might even be like MVP as this winter split goes by. You might be looking at one of the best players in the league, actually. That's how I think his ceiling is actually at, personally. So, Perks. Now, Perks played really badly on Cloud9 in 2021. He had some standout games. He had great games in there too, but played for the majority bad. You know, at Worlds, he had those, clutch games on LeBlanc, but overall, it wasn't the best year from Perks, actually. So, Perks goes to Team Vitality, and Perks, I thought, played really well last year. He definitely was better than Humanoid and pretty much every other player below him. He was competing with Caps and Larson and Niski. Like, Perks actually looked very good and bounced back a whole lot. He was doing so much for his team, and I know some people ragged on him for those Akali performances in spring and summer, but literally, guys, what can he do? His whole team is trash. There's literally nothing you can do, and we know Perks is a good player. So we've seen him obviously play that style last year, and we've seen him come back into a certain form where he's that he can be that carry player again. Now, the issue here... Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying, Team Vitality, yeah. That's all I was going to say, sorry.
Yeah, no, the thing here is Team Vitality has always made questionable moves in general. Like, they've always made questionable bad decisions.
Okay, it came back to me. Sorry.
Finally. Are you black?
Sorry. Perks is a type of player that will make plays that he thinks is the best to win the game. Even if it's a 10% chance, he'd rather take it than have the base than just how teams just let them win when they have like a 10K goal lead. Mm-hmm. So I think he was actually the most consistent on that team. So I'm not gonna. I think it was just a fluke team makeup, personally.
Yeah, because the thing here, I know people gave him shit. I thought he played great given his circumstances and laned pretty well. I think everything that people criticized him for in NA, he fixed in Team Vitality, but just was given a bad team overall in general. I wish he was on a better team last year to really show how strong of a mid laner he actually became. Once again. The rest of the roster is Neon. Neon is a perma weak side ADC. I know Sean Cole Turner, you guys have seen him on. He likes this guy.
I do too.
I think they needed someone stable like him. And I think that's a good upgrade. Now, is he going to be the guy that carry a game? Well, that's going to be up to how their team cohesion is. But at least he's better than Karzi, and I will definitely give you that, and that is going to be a good upgrade right there. Now, he also has Kaiser, too. A Kaiser Neon bot lane seems like it's going to be pretty solid. Like, they made upgrades in the right positions. It all depends on, because remember, Bo is Chinese and Photon is Korean. They can't speak to each other. They're just communicating through pings. Right? I mean, I think that'll be, I don't know how good that's going to be. That's not a net negative. I'm saying that's going to be a potential issue. The Neon Kaiser bot lane, it depends on how Kaiser wants to play the game. I think if Kaiser and Bo can have really good synergy, this roster can do pretty well. But this will be like my dark horse to win the split. There's a lot of pieces here that can work. I think they made the right decisions. I think they've made the correct roster moves. Just, I don't know how the pieces are all going to really work together. Not saying this is a bad team. I think this is much better than what they had last year. That's saying something because they had a quote-unquote super team last year, which is, good God, fuck. Also, maybe Neon will be their big thing because, like, the meta is going to be what? Zeri, Sivir,
well, it was
Lucian,
an ADC update
Nami.
There's an ADC update happening, not
okay.
next patch, with next patch. But I think they're playing on the patch before, so I think when that patch comes out, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of teams play through 80 a lot. You see, like,
is Neon going to be that player though?
He had some games.
He had some pop up. Yeah, he did.
I was just gonna say, excuse me, rather. don't be surprised if you see like Zaya and Jinx come back and like Kate. Well, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of Caitlyn.
Oh, we saw Gala play Caitlyn last night.
yeah.
We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later.
LPL's a different story. So yeah, that's what I mean, we'll see, but I think Neon. I think that's a really good team. I think they needed to step away from having all those big names and just have. I mean, yes, Bo's been hyped up, but he's not a big name player because we haven't seen him yet, right? But the team really only has Kaiser and Perks. That's enough. You didn't need that huge Parzi, Alfari.
And they needed a stable ADC that's not gonna. They don't need Neon to carry the game. His goal is to literally just go even, scale up, and clean up team fights with Jinx, Sivir, Zeri, whatever. That's all he needs to do. All right, Warren, what's your 4th place team?
A Team Vitality.
Okay. Now, why do you have Team Vitality 4th?
Because if Bo was still on FPX, they easily would have gotten to Worlds. The Photon, I haven't really seen him. Perks is always clutch. Kaiser is really good, and Neon I think complements him well. So the only real question mark is Photon, and I think Vitality is going to be a really, really good team. I don't see I don't see them lower than 6. They're not a top 3 team, but I don't see them lower than 6. That's why I have them 4th. Because
you could argue they're better than who I have right here. You could.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I had them too.
All right, let's go over Fnatic. So there's a lot to unpack here, guys. So Fnatic's roster is Wonder, Razork, Humanoid, Reckless, and Rux. So remember that guy that played those 2 playing stage games because Hylissang had COVID and they couldn't play him for those couple of games? That guy that was apparently better than than Hylissang in those games got a chance to be their starter now. Now, I'll say this though. His games were good. His games were great. But that was against wildcard teams that were straight up dog shit. One of them was against an Australian team. One of them was against fucking that Australian team, and Australia's dog shit. So dog shit, Riot axed them out of going to Worlds in general as a region. My thing here with some people is he's getting extremely overhyped for very few game samples, and the sample size of those games was against extremely bad wildcard teams. I don't know. I gotta see a full split of this guy.
It's simple. They didn't want to spend money on a top support. They brought back Reckless. I know Reckless couldn't be cheap. So what do? You're gonna where can you save money? Support. This guy's gonna be. I'm sure his academy roster money. It at least went up 20%, at least 30%.
Maybe, yeah, probably, yeah.
And then even if he fails in the split, let's say he stays for 1 or 2 splits, you can either go back to ERLs or some NA team's gonna be like, "Oh my god, the young talent."
He said NA teams were trying to poach him at Worlds.
Yeah, so
Bruh.
Exactly. So that's why. But let's look at what they do have that we know that's good.
That's the problem, though. The problem is what they have is bad. So Wonder, I think, had a pretty solid year overall. He had a nice little comeback year for himself, on G2 in 2021. He definitely failed and played really bad. I think in 2022 he played good overall. He was kind of top 4 by default, but nothing ever bottom, nothing 8th to 10th place. Razork was very dodgy, very spotty. I mean, probably one of the biggest coin flip junglers in the league.
No. I agree with Cole. He was used as a scapegoat because there were times the laners were doing some really troll asinine stuff, and they he had the same treatment when Svenskeren was on TSM's main team because he's on the academy.
No, I'm saying because then I was gonna bring up the other thing, which is Humanoid. Humanoid and Razork as a combo is so bad. They're bad. Like, there's just that mid jungle synergy is so awful. And they were like, you know what? We're gonna keep our bad mid jungle over upset. And I'm sitting there going like, what the fuck is that?
But the thing is, maybe they again. I think.
Like, that's like, dude, you watched it just as much as I did. Humanoid was one of the main reasons why they didn't almost even make playoffs. They had to win out those last 3 games to get the playoffs, right? And then they also had to went out.
They had Yamato Cannon as a coach, so I mean
that should go without saying, right? But I'm just saying, I love my boy Yamato, but he was trying, because the thing here is, guys, Humanoid played okay. He wasn't like fucking 8th, 10th mid laner, but he wasn't impressive. He wasn't good. He really only turns it on in the playoffs. The problem here with him doing that is if he puts Fnatic in a position like that, you got to go like, wait, what? Remember, people, we all watched the games here. Remember, this guy would consistently die level 3 on Victor, Syndra, Zoe. You could give this guy any mid laner. He's always dying level 3. He never respected ganks ever. He was always playing forward aggressively, way too much. Like, the synergy between Razork and Humanoid is awful. That's why. This is not a bad topside duo on paper, but when you look at it and look at how badly they play together, it's like, damn, I couldn't see this getting any better. Like, how does Reckless and Rux make it better?
I think what's going to happen,
because they take a step back and they go, I don't want to carry the game.
Well,
maybe?
I mean, I think if depending upon the meta, we'll see what happens.
I agree.
Top lane has now more champions. Jungle has more champions. So I think it's not as bot lane focused. I think objectives and still need to be controlled. But the jungle has, with the durability patch and the jungle changes, we're seeing things like Silas jungle. We're seeing things like Maokai.
Ash jungle. Not Ash jungle, Ash support.
Ash support. So we're seeing a lot of like weird things. Hecarim is even like a top tier pick. So you know, and even Udyr, I can't wait to see a team pick Udyr, because I think Udyr is actually very, very, very good. And with that being said, I think I wouldn't be surprised if they're more like, it's more mid-top jungle focused. I think that's
now.
What's
I'll say this though. I remember there was an interview I watched where like they were talking about the Fnatic players, and they had mentioned the fact that Wonder couldn't even flex certain picks because Humanoid couldn't even play them or play them well. It's like, like, I think they downgraded massively with Reckless. And I'm not saying Reckless is a bad player. What I'm saying is, like, Reckless is not going to be like, hey, give me this carry champion, play through me, I'll carry the game. I mean, he can be that, but he's not going to be like the lead guy to be like, hey, I'm going to carry this game. I'll take a step back. You can pick me the champion later on in the draft phase to give me the advantage, give me the counter matchup. Like, is he going to be that Caitlyn player? Is he going to be that Zeri player? Is he going to be that? I think he's going to mostly be on like Sivir duty most of the time. I
think he's going to. I think if they see an opportunity, they will be there. But a lot of champs fit Reckless, like Zeri's late game, Twitch's late game.
Oh, you can't play Twitch now. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So
he might play Kennen ADC again.
Yeah, actually, because AD we saw AD Kennen in LPL in the top lane with Lethal Temple. We'll see. But yeah.
That's it. Those are my only concerns with Fnatic is, guys, I know a lot of you watched last year too. This mid jungle was really bad. Like, it was so apparently bad that Razork stopped playing through Humanoid and was like, you know what, Upset, you're right. I'll just play through you. That's fucking horrible. He straight up gave up on how to play with this guy. Was like, you know what, I'm playing Trundle. He literally started auto locking in Trundle just to go bot lane to make level 3 ganks. That's the reason why I agree with Warren, where he was there like, yeah, I'm sick of being scapegoat. I'll play Trundle. I'll just do basic jungle doodlies and shit. Oh, God. But yeah, Rux, I think, is being a little bit overhyped based off the small game size, guys. Is too small. And it's wildcard teams, guys. It's wildcard teams. It's not actually legit teams in general, despite what Sean says all the time of, oh, these wildcard teams. No, they're not, Sean. Those wildcard teams stink. They're fucking garbage. They're like trash can level. And they even axed one of them out of the world event. Well, I love you, Sean. Okay, so Warren, what's your third place team?
My third place team is not. It's not. It is. Because who did I have fourth? I had Vitality fourth. My third place team was going to be Fnatic.
Okay.
So that's the only thing. Fnatic is. The only question mark is how well Rux will play with Reckless. That's it. Yeah, that's for all I had. I think Wonder. I think Razork also stepped up at Worlds. I think Wonder stepped up. And they got a new coach as well, so we'll see how that coach is different from Yamato. So that's all I really have, honestly. The big question mark is the bot lane.
Humanoid performed well at Worlds, but performing well at one isolated event compared to his entire years is so like.
But I mean, that's what makes up a play. Nobody cares that Apollo and Hakuho played all their life.
Yes, true, but him playing so badly in the true, but him playing so badly in mid almost cost them playoffs. Like, but I do agree. Yeah, it's a give and take. It's a give or take. What do you value more as a person? If I take the whole year into account, he played well at Worlds, but in the split, no, you gonna be in the fourth place. I think Fnatic downgraded a lot, especially with an org of this pedigree. I don't think you should be having this kind of roster. All right, XL for me is third. So this might be overhyping this team. I do fully admit that. I might be on copium. Just hear me out for a second. So Ottawamne, veteran, solid top laner. Definitely has been a top laner where you can rely on him. If it's a carry meta like it's going to be Cassante, Aatrox, Fiora is looking like it's going to be. Actually, he might struggle a bit, but he can. That's a fucking carry. That black guy would be running at you. But you see my point, right? Like, if you have a meta like that, I think he'll do fine.
He's even after the nerfs, he's still being banned in LPL. So what does that tell you?
Like, I think Ottawamne is a serviceable, good, decent top laner. Now, Xerxes, like Warren said, I think Xerxes has always kind of got the bad end of the stick. I don't think Xerxes ever been the best jungler. I think he's always been at least a top 4 jungler, give or take which split you're talking about.
I think he's the EU, but lower version of Xmithy.
Yeah, and I think that is what XL needed as an org, because XL's always kind of functioned off these veteran players' presence, and I think Xerxes having Ottawamne and Vetio, players he can play around, because a player like Xerxes needs these kind of players around him to actually shine. I think having Ottawamne and Vetio will be really good for Xerxes. Xerxes is a jungler who doesn't really gank all that often, but he's very smart about how he wants to play the game. He's very smart about how he wants to path, and I think that's going to be a big bonus for XL, because and also the veteran leadership you get from these two in the top side of it is going to be better for XL this time around, because we saw that in high pressure scenarios like the one in that losers bracket that Fnatic and XL were facing off against each other in, I even predicted, I said XL were going to beat Fnatic 3-2, and they were 2 games up and they could have beaten Fnatic and knocked them out even going to Worlds. But you saw right when the pressure got to them, they started making a whole lot of mistakes. They started falling apart. And I think that's why you get players like Ottawamne and Xerxes for those kind of situations. So they'll have that insurance policy a bit later on in the splits, where if they get into high pressure scenarios, they're going to actually be able to play through that with more effective veteran players that know how to get out of those scenarios. Vetio, I think, as you guys all know, was one of the best mid laners in the LEC last year. He was an Elo hell with Misfits. I'm glad this guy is getting a team that he can definitely play around, a team that can definitely, effectively utilize him. We saw this guy carry games. We saw this guy completely start popping off. We saw this guy essentially take over games. Now, the problem here with Vetio, I want to make sure I bring up, is the added aspect that we brought this up earlier when it comes to teams like SK and Astralis, where if a player is performing very badly on those teams, it means one of two things. Either they're actually that good, or the team is just so bad and so shit that you could be doing anything and you'll look good. That's going to be the ultimate test for Vetio this year, was he actually that good on Misfits in 2022? Or was that just a one-off, one-and-done year where he couldn't do anything because his team was just that boosted? That's what I think about Vetio. I think he is a good player. And I think he has players around him now that can also not auto lose the game in less than 10 minutes. Patrick has always been a solid ADC in the LEC. I don't think he's like this mega carry player like a lot of people keep making out to be. Like, even when he was Sheriff, I never thought he was this mega carry player. But that was only because they would funnel him resources when he was on H2K. But Patrick has been at least a top 4, top 5 LEC ADC. I think him and Mickey X on paper made sense as a bot lane, but I think that wasn't really a good combination as we saw how the split actually went. But I do think if the meta is what we said earlier, like Lucian, Zaya, Zeri, Sivir, I think he'll perform very fine. Like, he's always put up pretty impressive numbers. He's always been a player that, this org can rely on. And when you put up a Targamas, now Targamas was obviously on G2. They won Spring, MSI. You guys remember the history of Targamas so far. Targamas started running it. It was like mid MSI where he started playing extremely sus. And not sus bad. It was more like sus. It's like, why are you making all these decisions? Like, Targamas and who was the other guy? He was with Flacket. Started playing extremely bad. Now, as most people have always told me, supports are how you kind of dictate how you actually play the lane, given the fact that you can have a roaming support, a support that wants to play just towards your lane consistently, or you want to have a support that pairs up with your mid and your jungle, and you want to make moves around the map. Now, the problem here is Targamas really never shined on, like, any champion in particular. Like, he really only played Braum very well, but other champions he was competent and okay on, but nothing actually great. But he was a very vital piece to how G2 were able to win in Spring. The problem here is that he's not like an exceptionally great player to the point where you're going to be doing much more with him. He needs the other exceptional pieces, around him. And I think given the fact that he was laning with Flackid, that was also going to be something that, as most people predicted, was going to get worse as the year went on. So I think Targamas had a good start in Spring, ran it a little bit in summer, was doing okay. Like, but is Targamas going to be an upgrade over Mickey X? I don't know. They almost pretty much played exactly the same, as the year went by. So that's how I see that for Excel. Oliver says, I just think it's too soon for Winter since it's 4 players switched from last year. The team is really good, but I think Winter is too soon for them. Yeah, that I do agree with as well. Here is a hot take. Don't be surprised if Fnatic falls in like between 8th or 6th just because of Rux. Yeah, that's also a big, that's a big concern as well. I do agree with you on there. All right, Warren, what is your 3rd place team, right? Yeah, we be in top 3. All right, I guess I'll go with my final picks actually, since Warren is probably getting eaten out by a Chinese woman.
No, I'm. It's because.
That's okay. So what is your 3rd? It was your 3rd place, right? Yeah, you're on 3rd.
Yeah, I had what? There's only. I had Excel. I had Excel 2nd. No,
yeah, Excel 2nd.
No, because I don't know where I put Mad. That's the problem. That's what
you had Mad at, I think, 7th. No, you had G2 7th. You had Mad, I think, between 5th and 6th.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, it'd be because I put Koi 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, because I wish you had put mine to the side, because then it would have been easier.
Oh.
But I mean, this pretty much. I mean, the only thing is G2, but the rest is the same. I can't remember them. That's why.
Okay, so we only have 2 teams to talk about anyway, so let's just go through them. So G2.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to make sure everyone understands this. This isn't about the G2 roster itself. I do not agree with what the league community did to Carlos, that it's cancel culture, and I don't support that, and that was bullshit with what people did. I don't care what the fuck you say. Someone posting a fucking video of them partying with someone that's not means you cancel them. That is wrong. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You fucking left-wing Twitter weirdos and shit. Oh my god, he's partying with someone I don't like. Oh no, let's cancel him. Yeah, let's cancel the fucking owner that pretty much made, like, that's what she brought in Oregon. This guy won 9 splits. Won MSI, made semifinals at Worlds multiple times, went to Worlds finals with the org. How players you construct around the roster with perks. Yeah, let's get rid of that guy. Let's get rid of that guy.
2 MSI finals, actually.
Right. Like, I don't, that I want to make sure everyone knows that. I don't care if you think I'm conservative or whatever. That is wrong. People canceled him, and I think that is so fucking disrespectful given what Ocelot did with G2 and how he managed to shape Europe into what, like, people factor in. Without G2, Europe will be almost just perhaps as bad as NA still. And the G2 super team that they even configured was actually so good to the point where a lot of people that just, if people were factoring in Europe, they would just factor in just G2. That came from him. So yeah, you weirdos out there canceling someone because he partied with someone you didn't like. Get the fuck over yourself, you fucking pricks. Oh my fucking god. Like, he cost the org money. You mean Valorant wouldn't accept G2, the biggest Western league of biggest Western esports org, because of some controversy with Andrew? Oh my god, you people are such fucking pussies, man. Go outside and touch some fucking grass. Oh my god. And then we had people capping to us that was actually good. It's like, but Andrew Tate is that. Why would Carlos be any of that? I mean, so if I hang out with someone, then I apply all of their attributes to me? Like, what? Like, what the fuck? You people are weird. I ain't about that. That's some true nerd shit right there. Oh, he hangs out with someone that I don't like. Go fuck yourself. I hope your mom fucking aborts your ass. Oh my god.
Whoa. It sounds like me. Okay.
No, hey man, you were on Twitter too when he got canceled, and that's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Fuck that, man.
Well, I said he shouldn't. I know you got a few. We're trying to wrap it up soon, but
no, it's fine.
I just don't agree with guilt by association. I mean, I go on streams. You go on streams that probably people might disagree with, but I can still come on your stream and get along with you. So why can't he have gone to a party? Just because you don't like someone doesn't mean that person can hang out. And that was my point. My point wasn't like, oh, I'm defending Andrew Tate and I'm this, I'm that, I'm for toxic masculine or whatever is the hot buzzword. My point was, if you have a friend and you're at a party and that's your friend, that's your party, you're having fun. You have no right to tell someone how to live their life, because the moment you start doing that, you're gonna have people
become a leftist.
Yeah, you're gonna have people controlling. You're gonna have people controlling your life, and you're gonna have to be walking on eggshells. Like, why? Oh, yeah, man, I can't. You know what, MXK? I can't come on the stream because so and so doesn't like you. So I'm sorry. That's what you're gonna end up doing. But people only see what, like, because Andrew Tate's the most talked about person and everything, all these narratives, and like, the first thing that they assume is, oh, he must have did this trafficking and he's a messiah. It's like, people, live your life. Who cares?
And the thing here is, I know people are going to be like, well, Carlos did this and Carlos did that. First of all, none of you really care about poaching like that. Let's just get that out of the way. A lot of you guys seem to care about this random shit on Twitter. Like, I'm on Twitter and I'm doing all this brownie point shit. None of you care if he poaches people. None of you care about that.
Nobody cared because they won. Now, if they didn't win, like, if people cared so much,
if they didn't win, I don't think people care that much about it, dude. Even if they didn't win, I don't think people care that much, actually.
No, my thing is, if they cared so much, why are you gonna bring it up? Oh, now, like, it's just.
Yeah, it's the same thing where it's like, at least for the awesome, people think I'm dick sucking. Whatever. If you think that, your mom probably hates you anyway. But the thing here is, Reginald, someone who completely was absolutely insufferable, verbally abused people, made them cry, horrible, heinous shit. Yeah, he's got to do sensitivity training. Carlos actually did none of that. Actually, apparently a lot of people actually liked him. and he's just canceled because he randomly had a 10-second video with Andrew Tate. That's just you guys are fucking losers, man. That's some straight up loser shit. You guys are fucking
8-second
nerds.
video. 8 seconds ruins your life nowadays.
Imagine that. That's like calling someone an is or a phobe based off them buying like Hogwarts Legacy. It's like you're gonna apply a whole life type of situation to someone from a fucking video game or how they hang out with someone. Oh my god. You people need to go outside, touch some grass, and stop living in your mom's basement. You people are fucking weird. But yeah, I want to make sure people knew that. I am not about cancel culture. Fuck that. The way Carlos was treated was wrong. I don't give a fuck what you say. Because the optics around it do not support that. All he did was post that he was hanging out with Andrew Tate. That's it. That's what made people lose their brains, not the Saudi Arabian investments and shit. Well, you're okay with Saudi Arabia, right?
And he wasn't even recording it. It was somebody else recording it.
Jesus fuck. They got rid of probably the best owner in the league that actually wanted to up the level in EU.
We'll see Carlos. I have a feeling in a few years we'll see Carlos back with a different owner.
I can't wait for him to have his revenge tour and just tear apart these motherfuckers. I can't wait for that shit. But G2 is going to be my second place team. G2 has Broken Blade, Yike, Caps, Hansama, Mickey X. Now, my biggest concern with this roster is the same thing I said about 100 Thieves. I think it's horrible and wrong for orgs to just get rid of players that they've had massive success with only to just try out a new guy that might not even have the upsides to it. And what we know is that Caps essentially got a chance to get the players that he wanted. Now, if I'm Caps, I really wouldn't have taken Broken Blade, if I'm just being completely honest here. What I would have done is I would have just asked for a different top laner, because I think Broken Blade, he was not good. Like he had some carry games. He had very few carry games. He was pretty bad, all things considered. Now, Yike, we'll have to see how he plays. Now, Yike will never be what Yankos is. That's just, I'm sorry, guys, if I'm going to sound like a downer, that's never going to happen, right? But if Yike ends up having better synergy with Caps, is that a plus in the long term? Yes. But you got to kind of see how that really plays out. Like, yes, in the immediate short term, if his synergy is better with Caps, that can be better for G2 if they are, going to Worlds, actually, later on during the year. And we know that the mid-jungle synergy between Caps and Yankos was not very good and kept getting worse, but they kept winning together, so they kept playing together, obviously. I think Caps is still a really good top mid laner, actually. But if you're looking at it just from last year, I think Caps actually has moments where in the split where he's not playing as good, but this guy, as you can see from his ceiling, he's still insanely good. He's arguably the best mid laner in the West outside of Larson and players like that. So I think Caps will still be pretty good given the meta that you're going to be in. Now, the meta where he was popping off recently was an RE type of Silas meta, but I still think he played very well in and of itself. Hansama was on Team Liquid Super Team, and Hansama, it all depends on how you value what Hansama did for Team Liquid. Because you could look at it like a Perks situation where Perks was actually on Cloud9, came back to Europe, played very well, and people's perception of him changed. Could the same thing happen for Hansama, where in NA, they don't really know how to utilize very good players that they even buy themselves, and then that very good player ends up looking bad, and then when they go and play for a different team, they look a whole lot better given the circumstance and the situation around them, actually. That's my personal thing, is Hansama in Europe has looked pretty good, but if you look at how he played on Team Liquid, you would go like, isn't this guy not so good? Being not good in NA is something that happens with a lot of good, not just veteran players, just good players in general, because just how NA teams just don't really know how to utilize the good players that they get. So I think the situation that I brought up with Perks is going to be the same thing that happens with Hansama. I think he's going to come back to Europe and actually be pretty good. Now, Mickey X is a big problem with that, because Mickey X actually didn't look that good, and Hansama requested they get Mickey X. Mickey X actually left G2 to play on another org and then went back to G2. Apparently, G2 is this horrible place to be. Mickey X left and came back. He was like, you know what? Fuck that dog shit org. I'm going back to my original place where I was winning titles at. The Hansama Mickey X bot lane from 2018, a lot of people said it was very, very good. It was good, but it wasn't this over super dominant bot lane. like a lot of you guys that made out to be, I gotta stop capping with some of these players and like their play styles. I think the bot lane of Hanzo and Mickey X will be an upgrade over Flacket and Targamas, but we'll have to see how the roster gels together. I think the biggest problem with this roster is how they're gonna initially gel together. I think that's gonna be their biggest problem. They still have Dylan Falco, who still knows how to draft very well. That's just kind of how I see it. I could see G2 winning the winter split. Honestly, I could say winning winter, but that it comes with a lot of different various factors. And as you guys can see, the number one team I still have is Koi. Obviously, like I mentioned before, this is still Rogue. They rebranded to Koi. I thought the rebrand was very stupid. I don't like the rebrand. I prefer that they just being called Rogue, but they're now called Koi. So, Jigenda was on T Vitality for a bit, went down to the ERLs, and apparently I'm not really checked out his games all that much. I'm not even going to act like I have. I've not checked out Shigenda's games at all, because before they had Otawamne, and at Worlds, they struggled with giving Otawamne certain carry champions, so they factor in potentially that if you have this guy, if he can play carries a bit better, it's going to be a lot more effective for them and how they want to play the game, but that would inherently draw out more resources potentially with Malrong ganking top. Malrong really didn't gank top all that much, but Malrong had this like really high variance, high ganking style, which definitely, I mean, was very good. I think arguably he was MVP quality in both splits last year. Now, as Warren has brought up, is this kind of playstyle going to get figured out? If the meta changes, how will this high ganking style actually be effective? I think you can still pull off a high ganking style in a jungle meta. We've seen players where even if the meta switches, they're still very good even with meta switches. It's just basically all about how you utilize these champions, right? Larson, I think, is still a top 3 mid laner. He finally won a title. I think this guy's been essentially like a weaker version of Jensen, as you would say. Maybe a weaker version of Jensen to a certain extent for EU. Criminally underrated. A lot of people don't see how good this guy really is. He's been the main consistent part of Rogue ever since they brought him in to their organization. He's been very, very good for them. Comp and Trimby are, if not like the best bot lane coming into this winter split. So I think that's going to be good. Now, I think the reason why they're going to be first in this split is because all they're changing is just one player, you know? Now, when you talk about spring split, I think you could probably make the assessment that they might not be first, but I think that since all these other teams are making these big changes, you know, I think a team that is keeping essentially most of their roster, right, or 4/5 of their roster, you know, is going to be very effective for them. Like that already inbuilt synergy is going to be very good for them. Now, I also think there's a world where they're not going to initially hit the ground running, kind of like with 100 Thieves last year, where they were a returning champion and they didn't initially hit the ground running, but when they did, it really ramped up. That's what I think is going to happen. They're going to not hit the ground running. They're going to struggle for a few weeks, but then I think you're going to start to see why this roster is really good. I still see these players as very good players, given the fact that they pretty much all exceptionally shined very well last year. I mean, Malrong coming in was about as good as Yankos in a lot of good scenarios and games, actually. Last year, the high ganking style Malrong has, I think it's going to be beneficial for Shigenda. Maybe Otawamne had them in the style where you couldn't like flex certain champions, but we'll see how that goes. I think they'll still do very well. Will they be first overall? We'll have to see. But I think if not first, I think they'll still be easily a top 3, top 4 team. Like, I just don't see a world where they get below 4th. Now, Rogue has pretty much always put up impressive regular season records. I mean, this org has finished, 14-4, 15-X. Like, this org has put up some good regular season numbers. So it's not like, so it's nothing for me to go like, well, no, they're just going to be shit this time around. There's no evidence to support that. There's clearly no evidence to support that. Their play style, you could easily figure it out, as Warren's brought up. You can do it, but I got to see these teams actually do that to exploit that play style. I mean, anyone can have a certain play style. It's all depending on how you actually exploit it. Also, if you're now just watching, make sure you guys smash the like button. Our goal is to obviously hit 5 likes on these streams. And I've made some other announcements at the beginning, part of this stream that I want you guys to also watch. We're going to be doing a brand new series called Competitive Predictions, which is going to have its first episode out before the LEC 2023 Winter Split begins. So be on the lookout for that. And then the next week, we'll have the LCS episode, and then we'll have the LEC episode. So that's what's going to end up happening. So just only this week, you're going to get the LEC episode, and then after that, it'll be LCS, then LEC. But yeah, those are my LEC 2023 Winter Split power rankings, actually. I think my biggest question mark right here, obviously, is going to be Fnatic, given the fact that Reckless Rux bot lane, I'm not too hyped about it. I mean, I'm just not that sold on this bot lane, right? I'm not even sold on the top side that much either, but I think it's going to be a better top side than a lot of the other teams who are just having new players come in. The reason why potentially Fnatic could also get even lower is because if the other teams with not arguably better players synergize down the road of the split, it can also get worse for them as well. So Fnatic is my question mark. My dark horse is going to be Team Vitality, given their high potential with Bo and given their high potential with Kaiser and Bo, it's definitely there. And I want Bo to do well. Imagine Bo obviously going from, the whole match fixing fiasco to winning LEC. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? That'd be crazy. I hope LB does it. So they're my dark horse is Team Vitality. Mad Lions is still a question. Okay. I think Oliver brought this up earlier. Mad Lions is like Niski Elyoya, good pairing, but if Hylissang can pair up with Niski, that could be a really good mid-jungle duo, honestly. So, yeah, that is what I give you guys right there. So make sure you guys screenshot this, so if I'm wrong about all my predictions, you can come back and make fun of me. But this is not just for, the regular split standings. I think these are going to be the standings after it's over, too. I have to make sure I always emphasize that. This is what I personally think is what the standings will look like after everything is said and done after the split is over. I think G2 and Koi will be the teams going to MSI. So now before we leave, we're going to talk about what Warren want to talk about, which is the LPL. So what's been going on in the LPL? Mr. Blackman.
So RNG has changed up. There's
lots of things have changed. Scout is on LNG. Yeah, Xiaohu's on Weibo. You're like, wait, what? Yeah.
Rookie is on Top Esports.
Top Esports. That's fucking crazy.
Sword Art is on Anyone's Legends.
Anyone's Bitch.
Ultra Prime has
TT has Huan Feng. If you guys are interested where he's at, Huan Feng is on their roster. Yagao is on BLG now. Hope got banished to World Elite.
Yeah, so there's a lot of changes all around. So.
There's this new hyped up top laner on IG called YSKM, right?
Yeah.
Looked pretty good last night. I mean, Breathe did run it down into him on Cassante, but now they have the LPL has Kitty as the new commentator. She's interesting, I'll say.
Yeah, too much makeup though, man.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you care so much.
No, she's her commentary wasn't too bad. I think it's because Dagda is going to be on LEC because he said he's not doing
Yeah, he's on. He got announced today to be on the LEC broadcast. Now, Chaz and me will cover some of the LPL BO3s and the LCK BO3s happening later on tonight, actually. But I wanted to make sure I go over the series. I support RNG in the LPL. They're the LPL team that I root for. But oh my god, did Gala run it down in one of these games? Holy fuck, dude. So I'm not gonna go over the whole entire game, but Gala rushed Bloodthirster. This man rushed Bloodthirster. They gave over Kassadin. You do not give over Kassadin in this patch. Or if I see an LCS team or LCS team just give over Kassadin, you deserve to lose the game. Like, Kassadin is mega broken with those changes. I would honestly say that champion is an insta-ban. I think the Syndra pick in this game wasn't that good. Never really got the true value out of it. Now, Breathe inted into him. That's why he ended up losing the rest of the game. That's just inting. I don't know what the fuck he was smoking. Walking into a Jax that can just counter strike you under the turret. Then if he hits you twice, his other empowered auto comes in and
limit testing.
Die. I hate you so much. Wei was playing Poppy, kind of like how Chaz probably plays a support champion. Just kidding. I'm just kidding, Chaz. Just kidding. Oh, God. Yeah, RNG looked like shit last night. Bunny, this man was running it. And by running it, this man was on the karma game he had, this man was sprinting it. I don't think this is an indicator of RNG being garbage, but this was bad drafting, bad gameplay. So a lot of people are going to ask, why would you pick Caitlyn? Okay, so the reason why you pick Caitlyn in pro play is to obviously get lane dominance, get early turret plates. You rotate Caitlyn to Dragon, you rotate Caitlyn to Rift Herald, and you rotate to mid. Basically, like, you got to keep the tempo of the game going. So if you don't have high tempo with a certain team comp or how you want to play the game, the Caitlyn pick is useless unless you're just picking Caitlyn for the late game, which is not what LPL teams pick Caitlyn for. You're picking Caitlyn for lane dominance and rotating her on the map, and they did not do none of that as well as they could have. Now, they did get turret plates in this game. They, for like a good 15 minutes, they were doing what Caitlyn should have. Like, they were doing it. And you're like, okay, this could probably work. Gala was like 50 CS above on. And look, right there, he was definitely still winning in CS. Bad item optimization from Gala. Bunny missed every Ash arrow. Breathe, ran under turret against a Jax. Like, that's going to ever fucking work out.
I think I wouldn't be upset if RNG don't make Worlds or anything. Because this is a new roster.
You think now without Xiaohu they can't win anymore?
I mean, they made Worlds without him before, and then that
was with Uzi though.
They had Xiaohu only, so I mean, they're just sometimes. I mean, Ming is no longer. This is basically the way.
Where did Ming go? Actually,
huh?
Where did Ming go? Where was he supposed to go?
They're trying to negotiate something because he's not playing right now.
Okay, I think it's crazy how guys the off season's over and they're still negotiating to get Ming a team. Honestly, if I was Ming, I would have just kept playing on RNG. Maybe it's the money problems that RNG apparently have or whatever. Why it's like why is he even there? And like this is just so bad. There was moments in this game where Wei's just caught out. You see that Maokai game he played? He was running it. I was like, damn, dude. All this was bad. This was all bad. The draft is bad. This is not RNG. I don't know who showed up. That was GNR or some shit that showed up to this game.
NRG.
It was NRG.
It's energy. Energy.
This was not RNG. And then Breeze was like, you know what? Give me Fiora. I'll beat him. He didn't. He did not do anything. Like, why? Why would you go back into that? Breathe, what are you doing? YSKM, definitely a great player. This guy's got a bright future, I can see. If this guy does well on IG this year, I can see easily another top tier.
I can whip out my IG icon. Okay, IG, baby.
I think the top laner played well. I liked what I saw out of him. I think he played great. And RNG definitely need to fix up how they want to play the game. You cannot play Caitlyn playing this kind of way. You cannot play Caitlyn passive. Why were you? They try to play Caitlyn as if like you're playing some scaling comp. Like, no, Caitlyn in competitive play has to move around the map. You have to get things done. You have to play the game fast. Not fast as like you're just making stupid mistakes, but like there's a time limit Caitlyn has for how powerfully strong is in the early game, and she essentially falls off mid game, but late game she's still strong too. So that's it with RNG. I didn't get a chance to see their match against OMG. Apparently they stomped OMG pretty hard, but I mean it's OMG.
Yeah,
everyone stomps OMG. Like everyone stomps OMG. OMG's garbage.
WE got to win, so they can't go 0-6. So.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I feel bad for Hope, man. Hope went from winning LPL, going top 4 at Worlds, to being on World Elite. Holy God! That's just way. I agree, man. That fucking sucks. Oh, Ruler debuted, got a pentakill. Anyone wants to know? We'll cover all more of these games on Thursday, but just want to give you guys the lowdown on what happened with RNG last night. What else have you been seeing in the LPL? Actually,
I thought I thought that the LNG looked okay. I thought RA did pretty different. They decided they
LNG.
not LNG. I thought RA looked better. Like I think getting rid of iBoy was a good thing. It
They're
just
doing
wasn't.
crack!
That's always a funny thing. Good one. They finally played through Cube, so that was because I like RA. I think they're a good team.
Rare ass? You think rare ass is good?
I mean, I think they can make playoffs at least.
Me a second. Hello, ma'am. Want to set up the one-on-one? There we go. All right. So, yeah, guys, that is going to be pretty much it. We'll cover more of these LPL BO3s on Thursday. If Warren wants to join, we're going to do it at 6:30 p.m. PST or 7 my time around then.
The LPL. Yeah, I care for those. I'm just just
I'll
so everybody.
I'll give you the list of best of threes we're going to cover, okay?
Okay.
We can't cover everything.
Yeah, right. Just so everybody knows, I will probably not be a part of any LCS. I just don't like how they're going about the structure, and I just figure if anyone's like a fan of me out there or whatever, I just
randomly everyone will randomly ask for Warren. Like Warren's been here for like weeks. Is he dead? No, guys, he's alive. That's not the word. You don't hear from something means they're dead.
Yeah, I'm just busy with stuff, but my focus will be watching LPL and LEC. I just don't like the direction. I still will root the teams I will root for are C9 and TSM because those are the two orgs I like to watch internationally, and I've always rooted for those two teams. But I will not be participating.
Yes. So for competitive predictions, I'll have Warren on, and it's not going to be like how we used to do before. We just pick the winners out of the matches or whatever. It'll be more like going over the hype matchups. Would be like the underrated matchups you should probably look at. Now, the LEC episodes for competitive predictions will have to be out latest Friday, but earliest we'll try and do it like Tuesday, Wednesday, for you guys. So we'll have that done. But just this week, LEC has to be first because next week LCS has to be first because LCS starts on Thursdays now. LEC starts on Saturday now. Also, LEC guys runs Monday too. So also I mentioned 2 Cloud9 podcast episodes a week now because, well, fuck, like the days are so split. I can't do it all together anymore. There'd be too much to talk about, and I can't. I just can't. Like when things were Saturday, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday focus was more easier. But now with it split between Thursday, Friday, Saturday through Monday, it's going to be too hard. So LEC, I'll probably end up doing with Warren or whoever, like Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever. And then Thursday we'll have, like Friday will probably, no, Saturday will be like LCS or something like that. I have to figure out the days because it's hard, guys, going through this year. They change so much. So we'll get it figured out. But thank you guys for all your continued support. Make sure you guys like the stream, comment down below. See you guys later. Peace.